You're listening to The Other 50%, a history of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. I hope that you are all staying safe and healthy during this time of uncertainty and hand washing, and I appreciate you using some of your downtime to listen to this podcast, and I hope everyone can get back to work very soon. For this episode, I got to speak with the founders of the production company Poison Pictures, Gabriela Ledesma and Callie Schuttera. The pair met in 2015 and have since written and produced countless projects together, including comedy specials, feature films, live events, commercials, and documentaries. And their work has been featured and acclaimed by Film Pulse, CherryPicks, Film Threat, Film Inquiry, and more. We talked about their journeys, both before each other and together, and their film Blue, which you can now find on Amazon Prime. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. Okay, here's my conversation with Gabriela and Callie. Have a listen. Let's start with you, Gabby. What do you do?
I'm a director. Yes, it took me a while to believe in that, but
I know you said that very in the affirmative.
This year was the first year in my life that I was like, oh, I am a director. That's awesome, and it took me. I've been doing this for what it seems like a lifetime at this point, but now finally I'm looking at it and going, okay, so there is, 2 features, 1 stand-up comedy, a bunch of commercial little things here, now and there, another movie, on the work. So I'm like, oh yeah, finally I can say I'm a director. So when you ask, I was like, that's the first time I can say with,
You're owning
feeling
it.
Good, yes. And it feels good. It feels good, yes. Yeah.
Callie, what do you do?
I am an actress and a writer.
Now, who wrote this film we're about to talk about?
Both of us.
Yes.
Wrote it together. Great.
Yes. So it was 2015. Right?
2016.
No, 2015. I had the idea of making the movie, the feature film, and I met Callie in a short film, and I said, I want you to do this part, just as a friend. I just love you as an actress, and I think that you'd be amazing for this part, honestly. And she's like, absolutely, just like an actress would. I'm like, duh, I'll take a job. It's never gonna happen. And then by 2016, we were sitting together, just writing and just going at it and trying to find investors, trying to put everything together.
And I have to say, I think, like you just said, a lot of actors are like, yeah, sure, I'll do that project when it ever comes around, if it ever comes around. And I've never met someone with so much determination to make something happen. I remember thinking when I first met Gabby, like, oh, you're working on your first feature. Good for you.
Good luck.
I'm in LA. Throw a rock.
Exactly. Talk to me in a couple years. And she made it happen. She always said she was too. She never had a moment of doubt that it wasn't going to happen.
You were never not going to do it.
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Blue.
I just watched the trailer. It was very good.
Yeah, you gotta watch the movie. You might cry a couple times, but it's all good. Yeah, no, we did Blue, and we're so proud of it. And we shot in 2017. We shot in Ohio, where Callie's from.
Yes.
So we had a fantastic crew, fantastic cast, people that came in and did the job, and put the heart and soul. And then we'll find out while we were shooting that a lot of people that were part of the crew and cast, they went through depression. They had people in their lives that committed suicide, that tried to commit suicide, even themselves. So in the middle of the shoot, we were talking to people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my father passed away by suicide," and we were like, "There's a reason why we're making this, and at the end of the day, is to talk about it, bring awareness."
It felt very fortuitous. It felt like we had half the crew and cast fly out from LA, and they were put up at hotels and everything, and then half of them were Cincinnati based. But between both groups, there were so many people who could resonate with what we were talking about. It just felt like everyone was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Tell us the pitch. You just kind of jumped into the middle of what it is about.
Oh, you're the actress. Go ahead.
So Blue is about a young woman who tries to commit suicide very near the beginning of the film. And the bulk of the story is about her deciding whether or not she wants to give life another try, and how she goes about doing that, all the sort of different methods of healing that she tries. And I think one thing that makes Blue entirely different from most other suicide movies you see is that the suicide is not the big dramatic moment. That's not we don't build up to that moment. We actually get it out of the way in the first 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many great movies about suicide that sort of forget to talk about the healing process rather than the pain that brings you to that place.
Right. What do you do next if you decide to live?
Exactly. And you have that dramatized, almost glamour moment of the suicide, which I think can have really negative effects on people who are going through serious depression. And it was really important to us to make sure that our movie offered hope and not just showed how someone might want to commit suicide or the reasons behind it.
And that's why to me it was so important to stay true. I mean, it's based on true events. So to me it was not only be true to the emotions and the feelings, but also the events itself without trying to make them bigger than they were. But try to be as honest as I possibly could with it.
We try to find a nice balance between raw, but also realistic and raw, but also looking at it from different angles.
Yeah, and because of that, I think that after the movie came out, some people were like, this is weird. Some people are like, this is so on point to how we feel, the people that struggle with depression, the people that struggle with suicidal thoughts. People that have tried to commit suicide, in the past, and it's one of those things that you look at it and you go, "There's so many people out there that suffer from mental health that this movie, all we're trying to do is just show them that there is a way out. It's not crazy, it's not glamorous, it's not a big bang.
Linear. It's not a linear path out. You're gonna fall back down a few times.
Yeah, and it's okay. And it's okay to struggle. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to try to find yourself in the midst of all this, but to understand that at the end of the day, it might not be perfect, but tomorrow might be better. Tomorrow might be a better day, and it's okay. And yeah.
So speaking of better day, you guys fell in love doing this movie?
Before, actually. No, it was actually on the process of making this movie. And it was fast. And then we got married within 6 months.
Yeah, something that at the time we didn't share with people. We were like, yeah, it's been some number of months. Let's round it up to a year. And now we're like, oh, we've been married for over 3 years. We can say that we fell in love fast. Yeah.
And it was absolutely the life-changing thing for me. I think to me is living for somebody else, which is my daughter. It felt enough, but living for my daughter and loving myself came because of her. Yeah, sure, I was living for my daughter, but I wasn't loving myself yet. And she brought that to me that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel your feelings, and not just live for somebody else. So at the end of the day, she brought me from this darkness, and the movie did that to me too, and shoved in my face a lot of the things that happened in my life and say, oh, okay, you went through a lot and that's okay. How can you do better, for yourself?
So can we talk about your story for a bit? Because I don't know if you said it outright, but the story is based on your life. It
was based on true events. I tried really hard not to do, based on my story. It's not about me.
We didn't want to make a biopic of Gabby's life, and we didn't want to be trapped into trying to recreate every detail of Gabby's life.
So inspired by?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Where were you born?
Brazil. Rio.
Okay, let's talk about your journey first to America and then into filmmaking.
Yes. I was 16 years old when I tried to commit suicide. Went in a coma. So everything that you see in the movie, when it's relating to the coma itself, it's something that it kind of happened.
Were you still in Brazil?
Yes. My dad was like, you come with me. I came to the United States. I lived with my dad for a few years. Then I served in the U.S. Navy. And then after that, right at the end of my Navy career, I had my daughter, which...
Please slow down.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot to unpack.
Oops. Go ahead.
I'm going to pour myself another cup.
Yes.
Okay, so your father was already in the United States?
Yes.
Or he was leaving to come here?
No, he was here pretty much my whole life. My dad was already living here pretty much my whole life. And then so when I tried the suicide attempt, he came in and let come with me, let's see what we can do. And so I moved here, and I was about 16.
Los Angeles?
No, to Florida. He used to live in California back in the day, but then now he was in Florida. So I moved to Florida with him. I stayed with him for about 2 years until I was 18.
And Gabby's glossing over it a little bit, but I mean, not only was she coming off of a suicide attempt where she truly almost died.
Yeah.
It was also coming to a new country where she didn't know the language.
Right.
She's here in probably the worst mental state of her life, and then also trying to learn a new language, adjust to a new culture, and she's without her mother, who is back in Rio and does not have the money to fly back and forth.
And a father who you probably don't know very well.
I do. I mean, look, my dad was as present as he possibly could in my life by living here. I mean, he used to come to Brazil at least twice a year, or talking to him on the phone every week or every 2 weeks. Back then, it was expensive to talk on the phone. So he was as present as he possibly could have been, and I'm thankful for that, honestly. So I moved with him. Went to school in Florida, learned a little bit of English, learned a little bit of Spanish, started going to college, working, and I was like, what am I doing? I got to find something to live for, because to me, being alive itself was never a goal. It was never like, what I wanted to do per se. So I was like, I need to find something that it's worth living, something bigger than me. So I went to the military.
And what was your job there?
I was an ABH, so I worked on a flight deck, launching and recovering aircraft.
What's an ABH?
Okay. Have you seen Top Gun?
Of course.
Okay.
30
so,
years ago.
Right. So have you seen the people with the collars, the jersey collars, like yellow, blue, green, that goes like that, that moves.
The flaggers?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Close.
So you're like landing planes on the aircraft carrier.
Exactly. Okay. And then when we were in port, I used to do police force, military police force, while we were in port, because I was getting bored to just be sitting down whenever we were in port, because we don't have a job.
Right. She's kind of a badass, this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I don't even try. I'm just like, she's the badass one. I'll do something else.
She's a nice one. And yeah, so right when I was about to leave the military, I was like, what am I doing again? Yeah. What am I living for? This is done. That's, while I was in the military, it was absolutely the worst time for me when it came to self-harming. The military alone brought it up like 200 plus scars alone. So it was rough to me, and I needed something to live for once again.
See, I make the assumption, was it being a woman in the military in that environment, or what was it in that environment that was so hard?
I have a hard time pinpointing specifics, to be honest with you. There's quite a few things that happened in the military that I don't remember. A lot of them that I kind of just came to, to my senses later on and go, oh yeah, that did happen. That's messed up. You know what I mean? One of those things, and a lot of things that people don't know because I never talked about it. Yeah. But I think that at the end of the day, the job, I love my job, and the people, it was not what I thought it would have been. By being in the military and being in this brotherhood of in some sort. So, and I think that any time that I asked for help in the military, I was shut down by the higher ups. They would say, if you're not going to kill yourself right now, please get out of my office. I have more important things to do right now. So it was one of those things. So when I realized that every time I signed the paper saying I came to see the chaplain or I went to see the doctor, whatever, I would sign a paper, and somebody told me, it's like, if you sign this 3 times, they're going to kick you out for being mentally unstable.
So you would go to see counseling?
Yeah.
And then you had to sign something, and then they're keeping tabs?
Absolutely. Yeah,
but
to the
not
point,
helping?
Not at all. To the point that I have one of my biggest gashes, I believe is, one of my biggest gashes. I came down to medical, and I begged them about crying. I was like, please don't tell them, that I self-harm, they will kick me out. And then I remember that they were like, there's nothing we can do. We have to tell them. Otherwise, if we use the stitch, literally, we have to tell them. And then I said, then glue it. So they're like gluing this thing, and now it's funny to talk about it,
No, it's not funny. It's still not funny.
To me it is, because I look back now and I see how much I've grown since then, and how much I understand my worth. And my biggest concern about all this is that the people that actually ask for help and they haven't gotten the help, and how many sailors, how many military personnel have died in the past 10 years alone because they didn't get the help that they needed. Yeah. And that, to me, it's cringing, and it's heartbreaking.
It sounds like they're not even equipped.
I think they don't want to. Trying to equip themselves.
Exactly
is the thing. And when you look at the statistics of of suicide in the military and how intense it's become. It's
and PTSD and the depression and people that get out of combat and they don't even know why they're depressed. They're like, well, I didn't kill anyone. I didn't see anybody. Why do I have PTSD? That was my mentality.
Because
how
we're
dare
stupid.
you?
It's
Exactly.
bad for people.
Exactly. It was one of those
But
things.
it sounds like it's not even just combat veterans. It sounds like it's much more prevalent than that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and really just the suicide rates in general. I was looking at this the other day. I don't know if you know this, that the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 24 is suicide.
Is it 24 or something, 34 or something? I know, yeah, but...
Still, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
I know it
was
starts
rough.
at 10, which blows my mind.
Yeah, to me, the idea of 10, I mean, that's not... I put a glance of that on the movie, which in the first thing you see in the movie is a kid walking in towards the cellar which she finds a body, but that body is the adult version of her, and the adult version of her is actually walking to the cellar. And to me, that was a metaphor to how long, I personally have been feeling like this. And she says, where it says...
The line is like, I'm trying to remember the first time I ever thought about killing myself. And that was one of the things about Gabby's story we really wanted to hold on to, was this idea of a kid being in pain. And
It's like maybe 5 or 6, yeah.
But young, really young.
And it's nothing to do with my parents. I mean, I never came talk to them. If anything, I was the kid with a big smile. I was the kid in front of the cameras. I was the kid, swimming and getting first place and being, oh, she's badass. Oh, everybody loves. Oh my God, look at that smile, whatever.
You weren't abused.
Not at all.
It was an
but deep,
internal struggle,
exactly.
yeah.
So deep down inside was like this kid that knew that the time was too short, and wanted out as soon as they probably possibly could. And he didn't know what to do with it.
And that's such a scary feeling, and we don't imagine kids having those feelings. Right. I don't think.
No.
At least in general.
And now that I have a kid, I'm like, are you happy? Is everything okay? Do you need a hug? I love you. And it's...
How are you feeling? How are you feeling deep inside?
Exactly. That's my biggest concern now in life.
Where we go to Sylvia, like, you can talk to us about anything. Right? She's like, yes, I know. My God.
I got it. It's fine.
Yeah, of course she doesn't know, any of that, but she knows that people do get sad, that people do,
We try to
sometimes.
talk about mental health in a vocabulary that works for an 8-year-old, and we've been talking about it with her since she was 5.
Yeah, and that will make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
We hope so,
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We're drinking coffee.
I was like, do I look like I finished?
This is how we roll.
Was that the finishing?
At the other 50%.
Thank you.
Oh my God, there's like
It's okay.
2 drops in there. Should
There
I
was
make
enough
more?
sugar in there to like swamp around. Look at that. Yes.
Should I make another pot?
I'm good, thank you. More than that, and I'm gonna be like...
We're all going to be shaking.
Yes. It was good.
Okay, so at the end of your time in the Navy...
It was the same thing. What do I do now? Where do I go from here? Do I go back to...
Now, did you have your daughter at that time?
That's when I decided that was it. Let me go back a couple of steps on that.
Here's more information since we're digging in here.
A little bit of that is that from the age of 5 to 16, I was also a actress and voiceover actress in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much the only thing I absolutely loved my entire life, is being in front of the cameras, behind the camera. But after my suicide attempt, I despise pictures. I despise being in front of the camera. I don't like to be seen. I'm always wearing black.
Look at me.
Yes, if I could wear my sunglasses, I'll be wearing that right now. But so when the time came for the military to my time to be done and over with, what am I going to do? What am I going to live for? This is it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this anymore. So I decided to...
Gabby searched for meaning.
Yeah, always. It's a life. Yes. And I decided, I was like, I think I need to find something to live for. And it was my kid. Artificial insemination, had my kid, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So you said, I'm going to have a baby, and that's going to be...
My first try, thank God. I think the guy wants me to stick around, because he was like, fine, your first try, you have the baby, on a artificial insemination. So you happened just like that.
A friend from the Navy, too, who we're still very close with. And, and is a part of Sophie's life.
Yeah, and so that happened, and as soon as, I knew that the day that I was leaving, I was pregnant and ready to go, I was like, I'm going to go back to the one thing that makes me smile, makes me happy, the apparently only thing I know how to do, it was go back to entertainment. And I went back and I was like, this time around, I want to go back as a director. I don't want to be in front of the cameras. I moved back to Florida for a year, got my associate's degree in filmmaking. And then I moved to LA to get my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and then we did the films. And
Where'd you go?
New York Film Academy
And AI.
Yeah, the Art Institute of Hollywood was for my bachelor's, and New York Film Academy was for my master's degree. And I'm not gonna lie, if I had money, I would go for like PhD and blah blah. I love learning. I'm a sucker. No, I'm a sucker. I love learning. And yeah, so that's what's been happening. And
then you started making movies.
yeah, just make movies.
All right, Callie, your turn.
Mine's much less harrowing. Well, Cincinnati, Ohio, the opposite of Brazil. And I truly, and Gabby and I laugh about this all the time. We feel like we had the complete opposite upbringing. I lived in a very idyllic town. My dad built our house next to a lake. My mom was a doctor, so I truly believed that sexism was dead. My mom did not take my dad's last name, and she was the breadwinner in the family, so I was pretty sure sexism was over.
It was over, yeah.
Done.
Come to find out.
Imagine your surprise.
Oh, this is Ohio. Yeah. Oh, no.
And my parents would just tell you that I've always been a ham, but I always knew that I wanted to act. I think the first time I ever did it, I was like, oh, well, this is the best thing in the world.
Yeah. What's more fun?
Right. And it just felt like all my energies were made for that. You know, I had very little shyness and all that. And it just clicked. And so from a very young age, my parents were like, oh, she wants to act. Anything else? We could help with other stuff.
Yeah. Ever thought about med school?
Yes.
You should be a lawyer.
They never pressured me, but it was always in the back of their minds like, hey, maybe if you don't get into all these colleges, maybe we should try something else. Or maybe if you don't get this part in this play, maybe we just look at some other stuff. And luckily, the trajectory went so that they always had to be quiet. They were like, oh, all right.
Because you did get the part. And you did get into the college.
Not always, but always at the right time. Always at the right time to prove to them that it was worth supporting. So I went to a really great conservatory for college, it happened to be in my backyard in Cincinnati, which is not what I wanted at all. I wanted to go as far away as I could, just for the experience, the life experience. But there was a really great acting conservatory in Cincinnati it was at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. So I studied no other things besides acting. We didn't have math classes. We didn't have history classes.
So you were qualified to do nothing else.
Nothing else. I can talk, and that is my only skill. Talk and walk. And as soon as college was over, we did a showcase in New York and LA, and I was very sure I was going to go to New York. I thought I was going to do stage, and that was always the goal. I loved New York. I wanted to live there, and I leased an apartment there with a friend of mine. I was fully ready to go there. I got great response at showcase, agents, managers, stuff like that. And then I did a showcase in LA and got the same kind of feedback. And it wasn't like I fell in love with LA, because nobody does.
Right.
You don't move
We're
here.
all reluctantly here.
Yeah, exactly. And I just had a feeling, though. I was like, I'm supposed to be here. I was
around
to move here.
I was waiting for her already. She doesn't know.
We moved a month apart. Is when we moved to
and
LA.
we didn't know, of course.
We didn't know each
that
other
was
at all.
2013. Yeah, so we had no idea.
Yeah, you moved in May. Right?
March.
Oh, okay. It was a couple months then.
Yeah, I moved in March because it was right after her birthday, I think. And then I was like, all right, let's do it.
And yeah, so I came out here.
Something's meant to be sometimes.
Yes.
We say that a lot. And then when I moved here, I actually started a vintage thrift store down in Mid-Wilshire. That was my really brilliant idea, to be able to pay my way through auditioning.
You opened a store?
It was not my best idea. I loved clothes at the time. I was like, this is great. My friends and I will work there. And then when we have auditions, we'll trade out shifts, or we'll just close down the shop if we have to. My parents were very stupidly supportive of this idea. And I did run the shop for about like 8 months. And then I was like, oh, if you don't want to run a shop and that's not your goal in life, you shouldn't run a shop.
Right.
I like clothes much less now. It was a great experiment, and the one thing that I'm so grateful that I did that for is then when it came to us opening our production company, I understood so much about the legal elements, the technical elements, the red tape, yes, all of that.
I mean, that's pretty ballsy to say I'm going to open a retail shop in Los Angeles.
No, and I just moved here. I had been here a couple months when I decided I was
You're like, what,
do
like
this.
it's hard?
I think the difference is that people look at her and they're like, oh, she's the actress, right? And I was like, no, that's one badass woman. Like, I don't send emails. She does. she is the one that writes, like, you know, the gritty and needy of contracts. She's the one that looks through them. That she's the one that pick and choose the right and the wrong things. Like, she is the mastermind on this thing. Like, who writes this script? It's her, literally. Because I'm just standing there going, and now he should turn around and say something. What is that he gonna say? She goes, how about this? And I'm like, that is brilliant. And then he walks through this and she's like, what? You know what I mean? So, like, at the end of the day,
What you're saying is she's smart.
she's extremely smart to the point that her mom, which is a doctor, sent her papers for her to check out the grammar. That's scary for somebody that, to me personally, that's not my first language. I'm scared half of the time going, I just messed it out this way. That was wrong. And she's like, it's okay, honey.
It's really easy for me to feel superior, you know, in my writing until I remember that you're trilingual, and then I'm like,
Yeah, how's your Spanish?
right?
How's your Portuguese?
No hable.
It's pretty bad.
Tacos, Doritos.
Yes, my mom gets so mad all the time. Tell her to learn some Portuguese. I want to talk to her. I'm like, I don't know.
Eu
Good.
falo Portuguese.
Oh.
I try. I'm great at accents. That.
Oh my God. It's, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's wake up in the morning and she's British, and then by the afternoon she's like something else, and it's
I apologize.
Lord, yes.
But we were talking about how smart I was. Let's go back. I truly do attribute a lot of that just try it and see how it goes mentality to opening that shop.
Yeah.
In no way do I care about selling people vintage clothes anymore. That's not on my life goals list at all. But I learned so much.
I bet.
Yeah, and I did it by myself. I have no family out here or anything that I could really draw upon for help. So I was hoofing it alone, and so I had a lot to bring to the table when we decided to open our own business for production.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about your production company.
It's called Poison Pictures.
Now, how'd you come up on that name?
Okay, so in the movie, In Blue, yes. Helen, the main character, she tries to commit suicide by taking rat poison. So she just mixed rat poison into her tomato soup.
So we were trying to come up with names.
No big deal.
For the
And then
Which seems like one of the worst ways to die, by the way.
it was extremely painful. Like, I wake up a week later, when I actually could like walk, talk, and whatnot. They were like, oh yeah, all your organs, it's popped. Look at this. It's like explosion inside of your organs. Oh, it was absolutely the worst thing ever. Like the pain that I would never have in my life. But it was crazy. But that's where Poison Pictures came from the box of rat poison. I kept looking. I was like, I want a name that is so like punchy, but also somebody gonna look at him is like, really, Poison Pictures? And I'm like, damn right, it's Poison Pictures, right? And so I kept looking, and she was like, I don't know, let's see. And then when they were like, yeah, Poison Pictures, and that's where it went. Which is funny because Blue is a drummer. The next movie that's coming out in 2020, which is called The Last Conception, with Nazanin Mandi, Marshall Manesh, and Matt Richards.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy. It's a family comedy. But again, brought to you by Poison Pictures. The next one, after that, which is Citizen Zombies, then the name Poison Pictures is going to come just fine. Yeah. It's going to be perfect for that.
Well, I think it's really the genesis of you deciding to have a life.
Yeah.
So I think it's really apropos.
Right. I have to agree.
Tell me about the new movie.
So The Last Conception, we are on the last stretch of post-production, and about to come out in 2020. We don't have the dates yet, but it's coming out.
We're in final negotiations with the distribution companies that want to take over. And this was very exciting for us. This was our second feature, so we weren't sure if the first one was a fluke or if we were really good at doing this. And I think after the second one, we're like, all right, we're good at this.
This is our jam. Okay, wait, back up a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with Blue?
Blue is out right now. It is in all major VOD platforms.
So it was our first movie, so we had no idea what to do with it. We're having meetings with everybody that we know who's a little bit above us and saying, "What do you do when it's done?" Right.
What did you do?
Well, we knew we wanted to make it. We really strived for a quality that was releasable. We knew it probably wouldn't be theatrical because our budget was so small. But we wanted to make something that we thought...
Very small.
Very small. We wanted to make something that we thought was on par with other movies, at least on VOD. So that was really our goal, was to also go through our first distribution process. So we decided to take it to the festival circuit, and we were very, very lucky on the festival circuit. We took home over 30 wins Best feature, best director, best actress, best screenplay, best music.
People coming in after the screening, hugging, crying, talking about their experience. The day that it premiered here in the United States was the same day that Anthony Bourdain passed away. So
Be more timely.
It was the day of, and I remember waking up like at 7 o'clock in the morning and just I couldn't stop crying. The premiere was at 1 or something like that. And I'm just crying. My face is puffed as it could be. So and that day in Indiana, it rained so much. The sky was like whipping, and I'm not even kidding. And then I decided, I was like, I need to do something about it, not just come up with a movie. I need to do something. So we went to this place, this craft store, and then bought a bunch of those ribbons, and we made it. Ribbons. We made a bunch of them and just gave out to everybody. And then they were like, "Do you want to talk?" And I was like, "Nah." They're like, "You talk, introduce your movie." And then I'm trying so hard to hold my tears, and I was like, Anthony passed away today, from suicide. This movie, it's about that. So it hurts a lot, and it's something so close to me. So I have been wearing this thing for like forever. This bracelet, about a year and a half. And every time I look at it, it gives me like this, come on, girl, get it together. And
so after the festival circuit, we knew we needed a distribution company or a sales agent or both. And so we started looking around. I specifically called sales agencies who were repping films that we were on the circuit with. Mm-hmm. So there were a couple films that kept popping up wherever we were. And I was like, I'm going to find those people and I'm going to get them to rep our film because we're on the same level, right? They all said no. Not smart. Nobody knew who we were. And, we were trying not to give away how green we were. But I'm sure that I made some really embarrassing phone calls during that time.
Gravitas Ventures took a chance on us. And, so now we were, in all major VOD platforms.
Yeah, so they took the movie worldwide. We premiered on October 22nd of this year. So it was a 2-year journey.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And now it's so crazy with the second one. I don't have to go anywhere to shout to ask for distribution. Now I have choices, and that has been a huge win for us. Mm-hmm.
What is the hardest thing you guys have learned while doing this?
I have to say financing, because Blue was extremely low budget. I haven't seen that kind of low budget in a long time, but I want to make sure that...
you keep saying that, like, it was...
I cannot...
$10,000?
It was more than $10,000.
It was less than... I can say, for Blue, now that it's out, I can say that it was less than $100,000 by quite a bit. Wow. But then again, I thrive and strive very hard to make sure that it was not only a good product, but something that people can look at it and not pay attention to that kind of budget. Just go like, oh, that is a good indie film. Exactly. I feel it. I'm behind it. Please go watch and stuff like that. And that's what I wanted. And that's. But again,
I'll piggyback on that because I think I agree with you that finding the budget is. I mean, it's impossible even for filmmakers who are really up there. The A-listers are still looking for people to fund their movies and looking for the right funding. And I think it shows itself in the worst way with marketing. Because movies still get the box office that they market for, right? Mm-hmm. So the more money you spend on marketing, the more people watch your movie. Even if it's not a good movie, if you market it well, people are going to watch it.
True.
And I think the cost of marketing and understanding marketing is something that I was never really interested in. And that's why it's been so hard because I don't care for it so much. I don't care for posting every day, and hiring the PR and making sure that the PR is doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, but it's fun? So necessary. And you hope, I think any filmmaker's goal is to eventually get out of the self-promotion place. Mm-hmm.
And again, to me, it's the financing because of that. Because once you have that kind of financing, you can do the marketing, you can do the PR part.
You can pay someone else to do the
exactly.
Marketing.
So to me, it's the financing. And I think the problem is that big movies are spending a lot of money. And little movies are coming around like with nothing and going, hey guys, we're good. Why nobody pay attention to us? Oh, because you don't have the budget to be seen, to be put out there. And I think that's actually, a disservice to a lot of independent filmmaking because there's so many fantastic movies out there that it's not seen because they don't have enough money to be seen.
Yeah, and I totally agree.
Exactly.
I think too that we always expect that if a movie's really great, then it can overcome that. But I was listening to NPR the other day and they said that really there's no other effect on the box office besides marketing. Yeah. Almost none. So you think like if I make a great product, if I build it, they will come. But no, you got to build it and then market.
Yeah, it's just not true. And as we were talking about before we started this, as we're all souring on Facebook,
True.
How do you even do it?
It feels like you're selling yourself short too. It feels like you have so much more potential and you can do much better and you can be more creative. You can bring something bigger and better to the table. But then you have to stop everything to cater to this kind of self-sufficient marketing that to me, it just feels like it's not going to go anywhere. So there's a supply, there's a demand. Now we got to find the middle ground on how to do distribution and marketing in a way that it's, going to 2020. We still like back in the 1980s, let's put a lot of money in this, putting in theaters and marketing, PR, cool. But we are changing because of Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, HBO, Showtime, those places, they're so big and they're taking over the market, which I'm fine with it. But
it's changing the financing,
but it's changing exactly. It's changing the landscape, and we have to be a little bit more understanding of our avenues when it comes to independent filmmaking.
So, what have you learned in that regard? Like, where are you looking for financing?
What's funny is I think any place we've actively looked for financing, it never pans out. You might get a little nibble here that never turns into anything. I think all of our financing. When people say it's all about being at the right place at the right time, being prepared for some random thing to happen, it's absolutely like that, which I think is so frustrating as a filmmaker because you think if I work hard enough and I work this avenue and I attend this event and I talk to these people, I can get it done. But all of our financing has come through being at the right place at the right time.
With the right people.
With the right people. And now I do think it's much easier now that we have so many projects under our belt. It definitely gives you more credit, more
credibility.
Clout. Yes, exactly.
Right. I think this is the thing that's so aggravating because everybody wants to know where do you find the financing.
Yes.
And the answer is always like, we can't tell you and it's just magic.
Honestly, and that's such a frustrating answer. And I always thought it was people hiding their contacts.
But everyone has the same answer.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have a couple friends, who have like millionaires on call that they supposedly can get all their movies financed from. But you know what? They're not sharing either. They're not sharing their contacts. And also, they still are struggling here and there to convince those people that they should make the next movie because it's such a risk.
But again, we're spending $50 million on a sequel.
Yeah, I know. It's the two different businesses that are happening in Hollywood.
Yes.
Is a little crazy making.
Yeah.
Because it's either the most giant films in the world or the films with zero money with a great story.
And I'm sorry, but when you look around, like The Joker, for example, right? That was a low budget compared to a lot of other movies that's probably going to go to the Oscars. Again, I'm not saying, if you love it or you don't love The Joker, it's a different story.
But the production value.
But it was fantastic in the production value. Exactly. But it was much lower than...
Do you know how much that one was?
I believe it was, I want to say 10. I'm 10.
Oh, look. Yeah, we'll look. But I mean, Peanut Butter Falcon, one of my favorite movies of this year.
Phenomenal.
Oh, my God. And was a lower budget.
It was very wrong.
Very wrong. What is it?
They're still calling it a modest budget.
Yes.
Because, for a DC.
Yeah.
But it's $62.5 million.
There you go.
Exactly. But again, I'll tell you right now, a lot of that money is marketing.
Yeah.
The director itself of course, he got his pay and blah, 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 blah. But I'm talking about what do you see on screen. If you take it out, the director and the actor, what you see on screen, it wasn't that expensive. What is expensive becomes the marketing, becomes the PR, it becomes the talent, becomes the names, really.
Yeah. And one thing we've been talking about a lot, because it scares the crap out of me, is Annapurna Pictures. Because I think for a lot of us, that's like our ultimate goal, to be making these amazing films with amazing filmmakers about world-changing stories, stuff that matters, and then to see them going bankrupt.
Every year they're in financial trouble.
Yes.
And then every year they're at the Oscars.
Yes, they're
like, what will it take?
Exactly. So the Oscar winning...
For which one? Wait, for which part? To not go under?
Yes.
Or to not go back to the Oscars? Like, what part?
Something is wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
If the Oscar-winning movies, if the production companies making those movies are losing, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Because it means that there's not even a goal for us to aspire to.
Right.
Because even the people who are in the place we want to be are not financially making it.
So is that the audience not going? Is it the model? Like, what is...
We've been discussing
I still go with the amount that is the
marketing.
Is it marketing?
I'm not just gonna blame on the marketing. I think that the movies, they're busting those budgets so much Like, I'm sorry, but like back in the day, you look at a movie and go, this is like the movie of the year. It costs so much money. That's $40 million. Oh my goodness, right? Now you're talking about like Psycho, 1960, whatever. And then you're talking about like very low money, like what, 3 million, 3.2 million or something. I'm like, okay, that's 3.
Which was what, like, no, I thought it was like less than $1 million was the budget for Psycho.
No, it's 3.2.
Oh, okay.
I'll check right now too.
Whatever it is. It was a
No, I
low
need to know.
budget,
Is it
and now
a-
it's a classic.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And we did sort of the math because we like to make sure we're understanding the model so that we can learn from them. And have you seen Vice?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Yeah.
And I believe the budget for that was like 60 million. And so we were trying to say to ourselves, did they overspend? And, is that why they're falling? Because they put too much money into that? Could they have done it for less? And then we looked around at the names they had in it. We looked around at the recreation of the White House that they did, and then all the marketing. And we were like, nope, I don't think that they spent a ton of extra money. You know?
And also, do we keep needing to build the White House? Is that a
Can we
standing
borrow
set?
someone else's White House?
Come on.
Sure. I mean, again,
House of Cards.
I mean, all of this is speculation. You know what I mean? It's nothing like concrete to say this is the problem, this is not the problem.
'cause we
but
can't see the books.
we cannot see it.
Somebody knows. Come on, the
Exactly.
podcast and say.
But yeah.
And it
Megan
always-
Ellison, could you call us, please?
and it always changes. I remember, I want to say 15 years ago, there was so many $20 million movies. Like that was the model with foreign sales, and that was just it. And then 2008, it all fell apart, and that never really came back.
That's not the guaranteed return number anymore.
Right. So the model completely changed. So then everyone has to figure it out. But it feels like we're not there yet. If the only thing that makes money is when you spend $200 million, because then if you spend $200 million and it flops, you're out of business.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
So.
But I think that the films like Peanut Butter Falcon gives you an insight of independent filmmaking. And my hopes is that somebody look at that movie and say, what other independent movie on the same caliber it's out there? Let me watch that. And then go for the next one and the next one. And then we start to be a little bit more open for independent filmmaking. And I still can appreciate Marvel movies. I still can appreciate big booms.
I love Bohemian Rhapsody.
It was amazing. But at the end of the day, to look at things and go, how can we, as an audience, give our time and a couple dollars here, now and there to independent filmmaking, so that independent filmmaking can make the next movie better and more, you know what I mean? And get more of a budgeting for that.
Those stories are relevant. I love fantastical movies and bigger than life movies, but I think right now we're missing in our main theatrical slate is those human touching movies, and I think that's why we liked Peanut Butter Falcon so much.
Exactly.
What do you make of what has happened with women in this business over the last 3-4 years?
You want to go first, Madam Director?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
I think that just like Me Too has actually made a indelible impression, I think it will slowly make it on the film business as well. But I think because we're so stuck in our old ways and we all want to get the guy who's already popular, that leaves us with men. You know what I mean? Because men are the only ones who have all the clout already, particularly in directing, but also other areas of filmmaking. And I keep waiting for that 1 year where there's going to be a couple women nominated, more than one,
Or any for the Golden Globes.
Oh, yeah. I'll take one. I'm fine with that. I mean, we have enough to look into and say, this is pretty good. Not just, I think the problem is that people are expecting women to be nominated. I just want a playing field that you look at and say it's fair. It's not necessarily women, men, whoever you are, it's about being fair. And right now, I don't find it fair. I don't find it fair just because it's men or women. I just don't find it fair, not because there's not women in there. I just don't find it fair what we have right now.
You guys remember when they asked Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like, when will you know sexism is over for the Supreme Court? And she said, when it's all women.
When it's 9.
Yeah, and they said, well, that's crazy. That's when women will be in more power. That doesn't make any sense. And she says, nobody bats an eye when it's all men. And so when it's all women and nobody bats an eye, that's when we'll know. I'm not saying I need it to be all women, but I keep waiting for that breakthrough moment, because once a couple get nominated, more than one, I think, that's when we're going to say, all right, they have clout. We can go to them. We want them. We're not just giving them awards to make them feel better. I want them because they can bring up the value of money.
See, I see a little bit different on that, right? To me is that I think maybe military mindset hits it in, right? I don't want to bust into that door. You don't want to open, I go around and open my own goddamn door. And that's how I feel about this industry. if no names, but if any place is saying no to bring directors and nominating them, that's fine. This is a new world. This is, we're about to get to 2020. This is the time,
which is funny,
to make our own thing. I'm still a huge fan of watching those shows. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a huge fan. But you know why? Because I look at those people and say, you were where I am right now, not that long ago. So I look at you and I say, hey girl, I'll see you in a couple of years. Hey dude, I'll hope to have you in my movie one day. Exactly. So that's the idea. It's not about, man versus women in the industry. I don't believe in that either. But I believe that if the place is not opening the door for us, that is completely fine. Let's make something that is fair. Let's make it like audience vote. That's fine.
There's also a reason that the award ceremonies are getting less viewership every year, because people realize it's not everybody's favorite movie that wins.
It's whatever they want.
It's a small committee of voters.
Exactly.
And they literally get bribed. They literally get bribed every year.
You cannot even lie about that.
Oh my God, is everything corrupt?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. Welcome.
The age of transparency is very uncomfortable.
I know, it's a very jarring, but I think it's very necessary. I think it's just like having... I'm assuming you're not a Trump fan, and then I'm not about to offend you.
Have you heard the podcast?
We talk about this a lot, that, Donald Trump getting elected was so jarring for so many of us. It felt like we were going backwards. But it also did something very important, which was wake us all the fuck up. And so many people who didn't give a shit about politics before are like, oh yeah, this affects my whole life.
I'm all in.
Yes. And, I think it's the same thing with Me Too. It feels disheartening. Thank you. It feels disheartening, but at the same time, it's the conversation that we've been not having for a long time.
Yeah, it's all great.
So don't want nominated women. That's fine. I think the audience and the public sees that is a disservice to their work and how amazing they are. And if that's the case, then let's figure out a way that we can bring those women and those filmmakers and those independent films into a higher place that the industry hasn't seen yet. And I think that's amazing important.
I wonder if you could ever do it blindly. Remember how when orchestras were all men, they started doing blind auditions where they couldn't see who was playing, and it changed everything?
So cool, yes.
Like if you could not reveal who the director is,
that would be so awesome.
Oh my God. I think I told that her one day. I was like, I just want to, when we were talking about the Citizen Zombie, the next movie that we're making, I told her, I don't even want people to know that I made this. I want them to watch and go, who did this? And then when they find out it's a woman, they go, oh shit, I feel uncomfortable now. And that's how much I want to do that one, to show people that, sure, look, I like the work of Quentin Tarantino, but I feel like what he has done, if a woman has done it, the same, people would go, so vulgar. It's so much, so violent. Why do you care so much about that? I don't understand. Now, he can do it. He can do whatever he wants, and he can walk around like he's a big dick. That's fine. Okay. However, I think that there are women out there that is about to burst through that door, but they're closing, and that's fine. Let's just figure it out ourselves.
And there's no daintiness that has to come with them because they're women.
Yeah.
I realized that both of the features we've made and the one coming up, there's almost no focus on romance in any of them.
Which is funny because no, not at all. I'm huge against that. There's a few things that the people look at me and go, "You're against that in your movies?" Well, and I'm like, yes.
Not every movie needs romance. You don't have to have romance in your life for it to be worthwhile.
None of my scripts have. Romance. It's dead to me when it comes to features. But at the same time, I
inspire her so much.
Absolutely, that's fine. You gotta be perfect.
Right.
Is it 3 years nearly though? I don't know.
We feel like we just passed the point to where we're like, haha, we're not getting divorced. This is necessarily married.
It's like, yes, high five. We got this.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
We got this.
All right, tell me this. What's your advice for women coming up behind you?
I would have to say, one, adopt the Gabby mentality, which is it will happen. I think we're taught so much self-doubt. But if this is in your heart and this is what you want to make, then take that mentality to your film and say, this will happen. I don't care how, I don't care where, I will make sure it happens. And it will. You have to start with that mentality or nothing gets done.
I mean, you saw with my picture of my $8 million house.
You have to visualize.
Yeah.
I think to me is that this is a rough one. I haven't been asked that one. It's so simple.
Here, think more. I got one more.
Yeah, it better be awesome.
Yeah. So So adopt the Gabby mentality. Very important. And then run towards what you're afraid of. If there's a part of the business that scares you and you're like, I don't understand this at all, spend a day figuring out what that is. And at the end of the day, you're going to have a totally different perspective on it. So just whatever part of the business or whatever part of filmmaking gives you the heebie-jeebies, run at that. Find someone who knows about it. Take them to coffee and ask them.
Because you know what? None of it is brain surgery.
None of it. And
it's all figure outable.
And the thing I love about filmmaking the most is there's no one way to do it, because our business is constantly changing, like we just talked about, and because each project requires a totally different puzzle piece. You're never going to go through the same thing twice, which means that there's no right way to do it, which I love.
It's all puzzle figuring out.
Yes.
No one ever knows it all.
Yeah, you know what you want the final picture to look like, and then you have to go make all these puzzle pieces, and I think that's great.
Still. So much. Hold on, let me write them in a manuscript. No, I think that the women coming behind, it's, one, stick to your guts. Two, work with people that know more than you do about the things that you do. Don't be afraid with working with people that it's better than you. That's important. Your thing's going to be better by having people that know better. Stick with your guns, work with those people. And I think at the end of the day, just do it. Don't, oh yeah, I've been rewriting this for a year. Oh yeah, I've been rewriting. No, just do it. Once you do it, it just keeps on going. The motion keeps on happening, and believe in yourself. Like I said in the beginning, is that I didn't believe I was a director until I did so much in the past 2 years that is not even relating to feature films, but like, other things, commercials and why not, that I'm looking, I was like, okay, now I can say I'm a director. But I wish I believed in myself 2 years ago, and I think maybe the outcome will be different. I don't know. But just know that, believe in yourself, believe in what you're capable of, and don't let nobody tell you otherwise.
I mean, 2 years is pretty quick to get there. You did well.
Yes, but 2 years that has been happening, before that was a huge, long, this strive. Yes, but for the past 2 years, things start to the puzzles start to come together. Yeah, and you go, oh, okay, I see the bigger picture, but it took me that long to go, wait, I am a director. That's who I am.
How do people find you?
So we're online at poison-pictures.com. You can also email us at info@poison-pictures.com.
Are you on the dreaded social media?
We are. Facebook, Instagram. Unfortunately, that's all necessary to keep your production company going. I believe we also have a Twitter that no one takes care of.
I have no idea how to use Twitter.
Well, I'm going to tag it, and then people will see you.
Great.
Perfect.
One of them, it's myself. The other one, it's Blue, and the other one is Poison Pictures. We're doing great. Yes. No, we've been trying to get into social media. It's something that we never wanted to be part of.
It's a full-time job.
It really is.
Oh, yes.
So if you would like to be a social media intern,
reach out.
Please reach out.
Not on social media, because they won't see it. Some other way.
anything but Twitter.
What did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
You did a great job for me.
I'm having fun.
This is really your cue to tell me what a great job I did.
You're damn perfect. Oh my goodness. No, seriously, thanks for the coffee. Great coffee.
I do make good coffee. Did we get it? Is that it?
I think so.
You guys tell me.
Do we want to talk more about your love life?
No. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Gabriela Ledesma and Callie Schuttera for sharing their stories. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Be well.